Hey, Jim Wolf here, and let's talk about two zones that you have that are kind of opposites of each other. Your integrity zone and your comfort zone. So why are these things opposite of each other, at least a little bit? Well, you want to stay inside your integrity zone, and you want to keep stepping a little bit outside your comfort zone, leaning into your edges, facing your fears, and growing that comfort zone. So we want to expand our comfort zone over time, and we want to contract our integrity zone over time. We want to reduce the number of times we step outside of our integrity over time, and we want to increase the number of times we step outside of our comfort zone over time. And this is one of the biggest keys to personal development and continuing to grow as a human being. Now, part of having integrity in the first place is actually developing your own standards for what you'll accept from yourself and other people. And if you don't have a highly developed set of internalized standards, I highly recommend that you spend some time working on that. Come up with just 5 things that you will and will not accept for yourself and other people in your life. So write those down right now if you don't already have some internalized standards. I think that's really important to have your own internalized standards that you live by, and then you'll know if you're stepping outside of those boundaries. And so start developing that if you haven't already. And if you already have your own internalized standards, then that's great. So when you have your own standards of what you think of as a good person, when you're trying to be a good person on your own terms, you're sometimes going to step outside of those standards. And that's when you're outside of your integrity zone. And you'll know that you're outside of your integrity because you feel some kind of guilt about the thing that you've done. Now, shame is actually not necessarily a feeling that you get when you step outside of your integrity zone. Shame is actually what you feel when you're trying to live by someone else's standards, which you can never measure up to. You can never live up to the standards of other people. So shame is, I'm feeling like I'm a bad person in general, and that's because you're trying to live by someone else's standards. But when you violate your own integrity, your own real, genuine standards, that's when you feel guilt, and that's information that's telling you what to do next time or what not to do next time. So when you're stepping outside of your integrity, it might actually feel really good at first. It might be something that you're impulsively doing, but over the long term, it feels bad. And so when you step outside of your integrity zone, you might not feel any resistance to that action. You might actually really want to do it, even though it's outside of your integrity. And these are some of those kind of impulse decisions that we sometimes make. And we all do it. We all step outside of our integrity sometimes. It's just information that's telling you what to do or what not to do next time. And so we want to continually strengthen those standards and continue to live by those more and more. And again, it's just our own standards. Nobody else has to live by them. It's just you determining what you think makes you a good person and then sticking to that more and more over time. So that's your integrity zone. We want to keep shrinking and strengthening that zone. And then your comfort zone, it might feel really scary. It might feel really bad. It might feel really embarrassing to step outside of your comfort zone. You might experience resistance and fear when you're stepping outside of your comfort zone. So stepping outside of your integrity zone might feel really good at first and then feel bad later. And your comfort zone is the opposite. It might feel really bad at first, but then it feels really good later, because now your comfort zone is bigger and you've grown as a person. And those kind of experiences have shown to increase your long-term fulfillment and happiness. So outside of your comfort zone lies growth, success, and fulfillment. And so over time, we want to continually lean into the edge of this comfort zone and face our fears and get to a new level and grow that comfort zone. So again, over time, we want to contract and strengthen our integrity zone, and over time, we want to grow and broaden our comfort zone. And we do that by eliminating things that might feel good now in the short term, but feel bad in the long term. And we want to do more things that might be really scary or feel kind of negative or bad in the short term, but we know over the long term, they're going to make us feel better and our lives are going to be permanently better. So stepping outside of your integrity zone can make your life permanently worse, and stepping outside of your comfort zone can make your life permanently better. So we want to stay inside here and venture outside here as often as possible. And one thing that can really help with that is having a long-term perspective. If we're all about the short term, it's going to be really hard to stay inside of our integrity and go outside of our comfort zone. But if you think of the long term, it makes it a little bit easier to stay inside of your integrity and step outside your comfort zone. And there's a pretty famous experiment out of Stanford that shows how this affects people throughout their lives. They took children and they gave them a little treat, and they said, okay, you can eat that treat right now, or if you can just wait a little bit until the researcher comes back in, you can have 2 treats. And so the researcher would leave the room, and they would see what the child did, and then they would come back in 10 or 15 minutes. And some children just went ahead and ate the treat. But some of the kids were able to wait, and when the researcher came back, they got 2 treats. And so what they found is the children that were able to wait just a little bit, just to delay gratification, just to have a little bit more of a long-term thinking. It's not like 5 minutes versus 10 years or something like that. If you can just delay your gratification a little bit, you'll get twice as much out of life. And what that study found is later in life, the children who were able to wait for that second treat experienced significantly better results in several measurable areas of their lives than the children who just ate that first treat and couldn't wait. So just expand your thinking a little bit. You don't have to expand it to 50 years or 100 years or have a 5-year plan, but instead of the next 5 minutes, think about how things are going to affect you over the next year or 2. Just expand your thinking a little bit. And with that, I'm Jim Wolf, and I'll see you later. Thanks for checking out The Jim Wolf Show. For my best exclusive content, sign up for my awesome free newsletter at jamesdwolf.com. That's jamesdwolf.com. I'll see you there.